can share this presentation later. And interpretation. And interpretation. And interpretation. There we go. Okay, perfect. So welcome back. Our goal today is webinar will last approximately an hour and 15 minutes. And I want to talk about our purpose today. And so our goal today is really to share our plan for rigorous distance learning. And throughout the process, identify resources through the start of the school year. There's going to be a lot of information that we present to you. And so I do want to take this opportunity to introduce individuals who are joining us as panelists, and their primary role will be to answer any questions you might have in the Q&A doc. Sorry, it's not a doc, it's an icon in your webinar that you can ask questions throughout the presentation. And so as you're asking them, they will go up, be busy answering your questions. So if you have questions regarding registration, questions in regards to what we're talking about, do ask them, and we will do our best to answer them throughout the presentation. Once we get to the end, if we have time, we should have about 5 to 10 minutes. We'll go ahead and get to some questions that we haven't gotten to yet, and any others that we do not get to. The webinar will record your email, and so we'll be able to capture your questions and get back to you through that format as well. And so with that, my name is again, Mr. Ortega, Principal Goleta Valley, and joining us here today as a panelist is Ms. Chu Merritt, Assistant Principal. Ms. Chu.
Good evening, everybody. As I'm Clancy Chu, I am the Assistant Principal, and I'm excited to be here with you tonight in our virtual setting, and thank you to everybody who's taken the time to join us.
And also joining us is our Dean of Student Engagement, Mr. Ryan Sportel.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. I really look forward to starting the school year with all of you. As the Dean of Student Engagement, my job focuses around providing a safe and healthy environment for our students at school.
Thank you. And Ms. Gonzalez, she's our office manager, filled with a lot of wealth of knowledge of our school. And so she'll be helping out with answering questions as well. Ms. Gonzalez.
Good evening and welcome to Goleta Valley Junior High.
And also joining us as a panelist is Ms. Spencer, our registrar, who many of you have gotten to know. She's your point person when it comes to registration, submitting birth certificates, immunization, and address verification. Ms. Spencer.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sonia Spencer, and as Mr. Ortega has just mentioned, I am helping you with your enrollment and registration, any legal documents that you may have, and as well as being the registrar, I'm also the counseling secretary. So if you need any help in regards to reaching out to the counselors, I am your point person as well. Thank you.
And throughout the presentation, Ms. Cabrera may join us. But we are well equipped to go over the counseling program. And so I'll introduce her if she comes through. And if she's not able to, we'll introduce her at a different time. All right. So a little context. When we think about what's been happening and what's happening with our distance learning plan, over the course of the summer, we've been working on 3 different plans, and throughout the summer, just thinking about which direction we're going to go. The governor's direction came through us about a week before we started more planning. And so that decision came that our school would open up as a distance learning school, because in Santa Barbara County, all schools were ordered to open up with a distance learning. due to the pandemic. And so that shifted our attention to full-on distance learning. And our goal today is really to go over that plan, to gather some coherence around that plan, but also to answer any questions that you may have. We also have unique family needs, and we learned a lot about that over the spring pandemic of distance learning. And we want to make sure that we are meeting the needs of all our families, including students that may not have access to technology or may have struggled through the way, and beginning with that struggle as we start the new school year. Distance learning will be different than the spring, that is for certain. One thing that we have learned is that the spring was COVID-19 distance learning. And so we were functioning under a very emergency type of reactive process. And so we were able to transition rapidly, but there were challenges, and we've learned a lot from them. And the one thing that I love about our school is that, and our district, is that we constantly look at what are the challenges that we have experienced. We learn from those challenges, and then we begin to create the conditions and the structures to support a distance learning environment that becomes more rigorous for our students. The distance learning plan, as we finalize our presentation, I'll take you to our distance learning website that we have on our Goleta Valley Junior High website. And in there, we have linked the distance learning plan in its entirety. So if you need to access more detail, you want to read more about it, it is accessible in both English and Spanish. So our vision, when we think about our vision for our learners, there are two areas that are encompassing in our distance learning plan, and that is accelerate the development of global learners. Embedded in that is the idea of 21st century skills of communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity. And so we think about those along with embedding student agency, where students are taking control of their own learning, creating learning experiences that have the lens of our META plan. Our META is a multilingual excellence transforming achievement. It is a process that focuses on ensuring that we are being culturally aware of the education we're providing, addressing equity gaps, but also providing a learning environment for students that is inclusive. As with anything we do at GV, our goal always is to think about how are our kids doing? And we are a data-driven culture. And so our decisions are based on how are our students doing within Smarter Balance, but also we look at how our students are doing at school with assignments that we provide for them, with formative assessments, as we call them, assessments or exit tickets or questions that allow us to see how are our students learning and progressing. And so I wanted to share with you that here at GV, our greatest progress has been the amount of progress that we have done with our school overall within English and math. Over the past 4 years, we have seen consistent growth overall with our students in these two areas. So I wanted to highlight that because it really speaks to the testament of a collective teacher efficacy. It speaks to ongoing improvement within our PLCs, our professional learning communities, and also understanding that within that growth, we do realize that there are some gaps in our students. And so we continue to address those gaps so that we can show ongoing improvement with all of our students as we go through the year. Our greatest need that we have found is in the area of suspensions and chronic absenteeism. And so we do understand that there's some gaps there, and we have been addressing them. And we'll talk about those as we go through. But I wanted to start with this slide because we do want to highlight that. We are proud of where we are accomplishing rigorous student learning within ELA and math, but also knowing that there's some work to be done in the areas of suspension and chronic absenteeism. So rigorous teaching and learning. We provide each student with high-level academic preparation that is standard aligned, engaging, relevant, and inclusive. And the way I want to share that with you is through our own mission statement. And so our priorities within our school is to ensure safety, accountability, inclusion, and learning. And we are also the Mariners. And so I mentioned earlier that as Mariners, we did come up with an acronym that fits our mission and SAIL. We have another symbol to our school is the galleon, and we do want to help our students sail to success and navigating rough terrains and also smooth areas along the way. And so that is our mission statement. And that is why we exist. We hold that true to our heart, both at the staff level, but also with our students and our community. Our vision is that our Goleta Valley Junior High Mariners will be engaged learners, culturally aware, and productive citizens in the 21st century global community. And so that is what drives our mission. And so we think about those, as I indicated earlier, those 21st century skills of communication, collaboration, critical thinking, and creativity are foundational in developing and designing student learning experiences that have that rigor. We also believe in values. What are the behaviors that we want to exhibit in ourselves and our students to drive us and take us to our vision and eventually create that mission statement? And so our foundational values are grounded in respect, innovation, lifelong learning, goal setting, and equity. And we think about those when we develop our school-wide expectations, but we also think about those when we engage in restorative practices, when we engage in relationship building and conversations with our students and community. Our goal, that is the foundation in terms of what we're measuring on a daily basis, but also on a weekly, on a monthly, on a quarterly, and on a yearly. Our goal is higher order thinking. And what that means is, how do we engage students with the depth and complexity that creates that higher order thinking that we call rigor? And so we're constantly evaluating best practices. We're looking at data. We're doing research in terms of what is the most effective way to engage in instructional practices while also ensuring that our students are gathering the content and also the technological skills along the way. And so all this combined creates that rigorous distance learning. With that, I'm going to go ahead and have Ms. Chu kind of reference the next slide in terms of what that will look like at GV. Ms. Chu?
Great, thank you so much. Welcome again, everybody, to our webinar tonight. So I'm going to speak to just briefly to these points, and these are points that are contained, as Mr. Ortega mentioned, in the distance learning plan. That is first, the umbrella of it is from our district level, but now we're really looking at it as what does that mean for students at Goleta Valley Junior High. So I will speak briefly to some of these. If I bring up anything that you do have further questions about, please do feel free to put those in the question and answer, or also feel free to reach out individually afterwards. And then I will also be utilizing Ms. Cabrera, our head counselor, to speak to some of the counseling points. So related to that first bullet point that you do see there, one of the things that we as a site, and I think as a district, and even as a larger educational community has learned from the prior experience in distance learning, as well as from research that is out there for other times in society where we've done distance learning, we realize that one of the key points is to provide a way for students and families to easily access everything from assignments to resources, everything related to their learning experience. And so we know, given the age that we live in, that our teachers utilize lots of different technological tools. And so from a student perspective and a parent perspective, if you are trying to navigate 6 classes, or if you have multiple students in your household, that can be quite challenging. So we are committed at Goleta Valley Junior High to simplifying that process. All of our teachers will utilize our main platform of Neo. All of the information about the class, whether it is accessing assignments, accessing the teacher and how to best reach them. Everything will be housed initially in our NEO platform. And returning students and families, you're aware of that platform as it's one that we continue to use. Those of you that are new to Goleta Valley Junior High, please do not let that raise any anxiety on your end. All of our students, our incoming 7th graders, will walk through this and learn how to do this both through their teachers and their time with their teachers, as well as some information that we'll get out to you so that they can be ready for that first day. And we'll also be holding what we call a NEO parent night so that you as parents can learn how to best utilize NEO from a parent perspective. And as part of that, you will have access to find out when your teacher will have office hours. These will be designated times that our teachers will be available, and they will let you know the best way to reach out to them, whether that's email, phone, or utilizing our Zoom platform. So the other thing that we have that's a little different than what we had in the spring is we do have a consistent weekly schedule. This will start as soon as school starts. And those of you that have seen the schedule that is a part of our distance learning plan, you will note that Monday, students will take part in all 6 of their classes. And then they're going to utilize kind of a block schedule of 80-minute classes. So Tuesday and Thursdays, they will be meeting with their 1st, 3rd, and 5th period class. And then on Wednesdays and Fridays, they will meet with their Wednesdays and Fridays, they will meet with their 2nd, 4th, and 6th period classes. And in those 80 minutes, that daily schedule is going to be determined by each teacher, but it will be a combination of what we call synchronous time, where they're in the Zoom setting, potentially with a teacher, and what we call asynchronous, where they may be working individually on assignments, they may be working collaboratively in small groups, but all of that will be a part of that 80-minute block time. So those are set periods throughout the week. The other item that we do as a staff, this is something that we have always done to support ongoing growth of our teachers, enabling them to continue to look at their practices, to look at how instruction is happening, and really hone in on what is the evidence that they're seeing of student learning so that they can make the appropriate changes and next steps to continue that learning for students. And that is what we call our professional learning communities. And on a normal situation, we would be having a late start Thursday where students would come later and our teachers would utilize that hour in the morning on Thursdays. We will still have that time with our teachers. This will not affect your child's schedule. They're still going to have a 9 o'clock start time, but our teachers will still be utilizing this really important collaborative time where they will engage in what we call, kind of jargon in the educational world, is cycles of inquiry. And basically what that will mean is we have a goal, as Mr. Ortega talked about, of higher order thinking. We want our students to engage in learning that is supplying them with the ability to not just be receivers of content, but how do they learn to act upon that content and really engage in problem solving and analyzing and all of those higher order thinking skills. So our teachers as a professional learning community, say as a group of 7th grade English teachers meet, they plan a collaborative lesson, they implement that lesson, they come back and look at what we call the evidence of student learning from that lesson so they can make very informed decisions about what were the strengths of that lesson, what were the challenges, how do they need to continue to support students in that learning. So those are important times and we will continue to have those on Thursdays. Our administrative team, Mr. Ortega, Mr. Sportel, and myself, we are here to support you. And so we want to let you know that we will be available. Our office staff will be starting as of tomorrow to be a combination of, they will be available for you to reach by phone. So feel free to call. Also feel free to reach out via email, and we will provide times where you know that you will be able to get a hold of us so that we can support you and answer your questions. And our last, well, I'm going to skip the counseling really fast and I'll come back. I just want to hit the last bullet point there. We are very excited to have, well, every year we have a house assembly. As students that join Goleta Valley are assigned to what we call a different house. And that is a way to connect them to our community, our GV community. And so what we will be doing this year, and all this information will be coming out, is we will be having a virtual house assembly where all of our students, all of our 7th and 8th graders will be able to engage in this assembly and be able to find ways that they can really connect, even in the virtual setting, to our GV community. Our goal, and you will hear more about this from Mr. Sportel, is yes, we're here to provide those learning experiences, but we know that those learning experiences are really only productive and effective if we're able to help our students really be connected to our teachers, to our school, and to Goleta Valley in general. So we're excited to have that assembly. And we have one bullet point there about our counseling team. So I'm going to turn it over to Ms. Cabrera to just give a quick little comment on that item. Ms. Cabrera?
Yes, good evening, everybody. I'm Ms. Cabrera, and just want to say welcome to all our families, and a special welcome to our incoming families. We know there's a lot of concern and worry about the transition into distant learning, but we're, like Ms. Chu said, we're here to support you and your students. And essentially, as counselors, we aim to support students really in 3 areas, and that's the academic domain, college and career readiness, and personal social development. And so that happens typically one-on-one, small groups, and in the classroom. And we're really hoping, even in distant learning, that that can happen across those avenues. Right now, our priority is making sure all students have a schedule. Miss Ricardo was on maternity leave. Her first day back is tomorrow. So I know their parents and students have been reaching out to her, but just know that she starts tomorrow and will be chipping away at the emails and phone calls. So if you could just be patient, the best way to get a hold of us is through email. And again, just be patient for us getting back to you. We want to take care of each one of you and address your concerns and questions, and get everyone squared away for the first day of school. So more to come, but we're here to serve you, and please feel free to reach out.
Great, thank you, Ms. Cabrera. So we know that a rigorous learning environment also has to encompass the social emotional learning and making sure that our students feel safe and supported. And so as part of our distance learning plan, we are keeping that in mind first and foremost. We want to make sure that students feel safe, that we create an affirming and inclusive learning environment. What we have here is we create safe, supportive, culturally sustaining, and inclusive learning environments that promote the social and emotional well-being of both students and adults. And so we're thinking about mental health services. We're thinking about social emotional learning. And we're also thinking about cultural and linguistically affirming learning environments. And so all that, it brings us back to where we are within our mission. We do want to be inclusive, where we are within our vision. We do want to be culturally aware, where we are with our values. We do want to ensure equity, and where we are with our goal. We do want to make sure that we are creating a rigorous learning experience for every student. And so with that, we'll go more into the details right now. Right now, I'll have Mr. Sportel go over how that will look like here at GV.
Thank you, Mr. Ortega. As Mr. Ortega mentioned, our main goal and focus is student safety and well-being. And one of the safety nets we have in that first bullet that you'll see is our partnership with Family Service Agency. And we have a referral process that we'll be continuing to engage throughout this the distance learning, and it will include the provision of services not only remotely but also in person when it is required. And that is a safety net that we have for students through a referral process. The next bullet point you'll see is that we have a philosophy that our staff and teachers, if they're going to provide for the social and emotional wellness of our students, need to also engage in self-care, and through that, the practices that they learn helps to create effective mentorship. There will continue to be our focus on ASB, that stands for Associated Student Body, and that is our student representative team. It consists of students who have the opportunity to volunteer, and we will have our elected ASB officer panel. The elections will be happening early in the year. And through that, we are trying to develop leadership and agency with our students. So all of the additional activities that we provide at school are under the direction and support and innovation and creativity of our students. Through there, we also have several other groups in which we support our students. One you'll see there, AHA is an organization. The AHA stands for Attitude, Harmony, Achievement. They have worked with us for many years and provide support groups for students, but it's centered around fun and enjoyable activities that help to teach engagement and provide leadership and mentorship. There are several other that you see there that we will continue to have this year, including the morning announcements and our clubs. We're working hard. We had a lot of questions this morning about our clubs, and we are indeed working very hard to have our club directors, teachers who are still able to do those clubs, and we fully intend on making that happen this year. We are also going to be having an assembly this year, early in the year. This is going to be put on in conjunction with us and the AHA group. And what we're looking to do in this assembly is to really engage our students. And so there will be breakout sessions, there will be activities, games that we play to help the students feel that sense of community and engagement at school. And we will continue to work in those partnerships with all of our families and to promote our community and our social and emotional growth and learning.
Thank you, Mr. Sportel. At the heart of what we do is relationships, and this is our theme. We develop our school-wide learning expectations and just school-wide expectations overall, including virtual settings and at-home settings through safe, accountable, inclusive learners. This is where I want to be. We all want to be here. I anticipate and I can't wait for the day where we all come together again. Sooner than later, I hope. And in the meantime, we will try to work on creating these conditions and these structures so that our students have connections with each other, but also with our staff and the community. And that's going to be the primary lens and focus as we begin the school year. We will be norming with our teachers to identify times in which they will be available. Really the way clubs work throughout a traditional school year is teachers are available either during lunch or after school. And if students are interested in the club, they go through ASB and then they go to a teacher and they ask if they could be the moderator for that club, which essentially just means they're supervising. We will norm that with our teachers and provide our students with times in which they can approach teachers to see if they'd be interested in a virtual club, in a virtual setting. Our next area is student supports. We want to go over what that will look like. And so we nurture positive relationships with students and use a multi-tiered system of support to ensure prevention and intervention to maximize student engagement and achievement. And so that multi-tiered is really important. We use it for behavior, we use it for academics, we use it for social emotional, and we also use it within our robust counseling program. And so what those tiers look like is, if you could imagine just a pyramid, and as you can see the pyramid at the very bottom, it's the the longest area, and that is where all students are provided the support. So all students get an education. All students will get a rigorous distance learning education. All students will get access to Zoom. All students will get iPads. All students will get instruction. As we're starting to see some struggles, or we start to see some gaps, or that perhaps something happened where it's causing a social imbalance or they need additional supports, then we start thinking about tier two. What additional supports do we need to provide for our students? So do they need additional tutoring? Do they need a referral to FSA counselor? Do we need to contact additional outside services? Do they need math support? So those are the things we start thinking about in terms of tier two. And when we are working with students at tier two, if we're still seeing some gaps or they're still seeing some struggle, then we start looking into more intensive services. And so we start looking at groups. We start looking at ways in which we can re-engage students. And so that's what we mean by the multi-tiered system of support. It is not only in academics, but it's also in behavioral, and it's also social emotional. And it also exists within our counseling program as well. So to dive deeper into that in certain areas here, I'll have Ms. Chu just talk a little bit in terms of special education, 504 plans, and also about Zoom sessions. Ms. Chu?
Great, thank you very much. I will jump into those programs in just a minute. Just to comment on the first bullet point there, we are all, as we are here, getting ready to be a part of the virtual world in the Zoom sessions. Our students had some experience with that, obviously, in the springtime, and we're coming back to that. And I know I actually had a conversation with a student today, just in passing, and it was a challenging time for them. And so we do know that they're not all feeling real positive, and that's understandable. This is a very different way of engaging. But one of the things we are committed to as a staff, I know our teachers are already thinking about this, working on this, and that is really building their class culture in this virtual setting. And so those are things that will be focused upon in those first days, even weeks of class. While they're getting into learning and addressing content, they are really going to work at building that class culture so that your child feels a part of the learning, even in the virtual setting, that feels valued and included in that and is able to have their needs met. So just wanted to speak to that. In terms of some specific programs, part of my role as the assistant principals, I do oversee special education, all of our programs in that, as well as our 504 plans. They are two very separate programs. So first, in terms of special education, this is only pertinent for those of you out there that do have a student that is in one of our special education programs, meaning that they do have an IEP, which I was reminded from this morning's webinar, not everybody knows an IEP, we're referring to an individual education plan for that student. And so many of you that are new to Goleta Valley, I had the privilege of meeting in the springtime as we had the transition meetings and talked about that transition to junior high. So we will continue that process, and the IEPs for both new and continuing students will continue to be implemented in the distance learning environment. We do know that, challenges may arise, whether related to distance learning or just in general. So know that we're committed to working with you and supporting you and your student to address those challenges. We will follow structures that we already have in place, whether that involves utilizing our counselors, reaching out to teachers, or if it means that we're utilizing the whole, what we call IEP team, we will absolutely be doing that. One other note on that, case managers we're currently in the process of assigning a special education teacher that will be the case manager for your child. And so you will receive communication from them once that has taken place, as we get closer to the start of school, so that you'll know who that point person is, how to best contact them, both when and how to do that. So that is information that will be coming. If you have specific questions related, anything related to special education, and you're not aware of who your case manager is, or even if you are, please do feel free to reach out to me. I will address those myself or also involve necessary support staff that is needed. In regards to our 504 plans, again, that's a separate program. We have students that come to us with a 504 plan, and we will continue to follow our regular process of making sure that all of the teachers who have your child, if they have a 504 plan, will have the information that they need to know how to help meet the needs that your student may have for learning. So that information will be going out to teachers as well. The difference with 504 plans that I just want to note is there's not a case manager. The point person for 504 plans are our academic counselors. So Ms. Cabrera, who you've heard from already, she oversees the students A through K and any of those that have 504 plans, and Ms. Ricardo, students with the last names L through Z. So questions related to the 504 plan area, you're welcome to reach out to your counselor, but also again, please do feel free to reach out to myself. One note that I did forget to mention in terms of special education, we also take the information that is pertinent for your child in terms of accommodations or modifications that they may need for their learning, and that information will be communicated with their teachers as well, and case managers will oversee that process. I'm going to let Ms. Cabrera just speak for a minute to the bullet point about access to counselors. And I think the last point I'm just going to mention on there is related to an area that we talk about in terms of the norms we have for learning in the virtual environment. And those are things that will be communicated with students and developed with students by their teachers. So both of those areas will happen. Some expectations and norms will be communicated and some will actually be developed as a class as part of building that class culture. So just know that your child will be receiving information about how they can best utilize the Zoom setting. They're also going to be receiving information about how they can access extra support, whether that's in relation to tutoring. We have some really exciting news that's coming about tutoring that we will have available for all students, and office hours in terms of how your child can access support from an individual teacher. That information will be coming, and as part of what we call that NEO platform that teachers will house that information. So those are some specifics to programs as well as just meeting student needs in the distance learning environment. So Ms. Cabrera, if you want to just take a moment and speak to the access to counselors.
Sure. So again, just to reiterate, every student is assigned a school counselor, and there are 2 of us. And again, it's by last name. If your student has two last names, it's based on their first last name. And right now, probably the easiest way to get a hold of us is through email. So every student does have a district assigned student email. And so if you could have your student reach out to us, I highly encourage parents to go ahead and have your student reach out to us if you feel like it's something that they could take care of on their own. Go ahead and have them do that. And if you have any particular concerns, of course, parents know how to reach out to us, but students, I think right now, email is the easiest. They'll be able to, once they have their NEO accounts set up, to communicate with us through NEO. We are available to meet with students and see students. It's all virtual, so we could set up a phone call, we can set up a Zoom meeting, but we do want to support your students, whether it's academic, personal, peer, home, whatever it is. We're typically one of the first contacts that students start with, and then we kind of direct them to where they need to go. So more to come on all that too.
Great, thank you, Ms. Cabrera. I switched over to the slide of supports for your students and also for you as well. Just want to again emphasize our administrative team, myself, Ms. Chu, Mr. Sportel, we're all here to support you. And from our counseling department, I also included areas of social emotional support. And so you do have Ms. Cabrera, you have Ms. Ricardo, specifically for students within those last letter names. If they're not available, yes, you can contact the other counselor. We all work together. Ms. DeCarmo, in the middle there, is our FSA counselor. So that is the Family Service Agency that we contract with. And we have an on-site Family Service Agency counselor who's here to support the needs of students. And we also have a part-time counselor, Ms. Becchio, who helps out with social emotional support. We call her the RA counselor, restorative approach counselor. But all of them are here to work with our students and support them in whatever their areas of need may be. Mr. Lozano, he's also found in our front office. He's our school psychologist. And he is involved heavily within individualized education plans, but he is also there to support students whenever we have any support. Sometimes it could be crisis support, and sometimes it could be they just want to talk to someone. Ms. Hatcher Day, our librarian, she is also our yearbook moderator. And so she will be creating many learning experiences this year to engage students. And so I wanted to put her there because there are a lot of students that come through, whether it was physical or virtual space, to gather reading materials. And so we just want you all to know that we're all here to support you. Additionally, in our front office, we have our office support. And so Ms. Gonzalez, our office manager, she's also there to just take your phone calls and direct you to whoever she sees might fit the need to best support you quickly. Ms. Sanchez supports Ms. Chu and Mr. Sportel. Mr. Mata Vasquez, he is our newly hired youth and family outreach coordinator. And so we are incredibly happy to have him here at school. He was our bilingual paraeducator last year. And this year, he's just going to be a great fit. He did a little work around family liaison last year. His primary work will be to work with students to re-engage them, to help them feel connected, but then also to reach out to families, to get them engaged with PTA, to have them come to an English Learning Advisory Council, or to come to a NEO night, or to help them out if they're having any technological difficulties. Ms. Spencer is your point person for any registrar needs for registration, for address verification. Ms. Cunningham is your point person for, she's our nurse, and she'll be a point person for immunizations, and also to keep her in the loop of your child's health and see how we can best support in those areas. Ms. Lopez is our attendance clerk, and she is the one you will call if for whatever the reason may be, give us a call and let us know why your child may not be able to participate in a Zoom or any type of class that's either synchronous or asynchronous. So, professional learning. We provide a variety of professional learning experiences for our staff, and that is beginning this week and continuing on next week, all the way up to the first day of school. But we are a culture of lifelong learners. And at the core of what you see here is the rigorous student learning. And so the knowledge of the technology, last year we were in the rapid shift. COVID-19 happened and we had to really do a rapid transition with technology to ensure that every staff member had the competencies to engage in delivery of content and also instruction. And so that's what's encompassed in the knowledge of technology. Think about it in terms of using Google Classroom, using Neo, using Zoom, using Google Suite, such as email, but also slide decks, and also Google Sheets and Google Documents. Those are all social sharing, collaborative documents that allow students to collaborate and communicate, but also they can express their creativity. And so all of that is encompassed within the knowledge of technology. When it comes to the knowledge of content, that is what all of our teachers are hired and have the credentials and their way of engaging with the content, whether it's in math, whether it's in English, in social studies, in science, in PE, in electives. That is that scope and sequence that they will be focusing on. All of that will be contained within their syllabi. So that way, each teacher's syllabus has common expectations and common areas that if you go to any teacher, you will see these common areas when it comes to what is the knowledge of content and the knowledge of technology that the teachers will need, but also that the students will need to grasp. We also have the knowledge of instruction. And so that's the key here. We all train in best practices. We've been mentioning professional learning communities, and that is when teachers get together, map out a lesson, design a lesson, and what is going to be the best approach for designing that lesson. Is it going to be a direct instruction for an hour and a half? Absolutely not. Is it going to be direct instruction that's going to chunk the information? Yes. Is it going to include Q&As, discussions? Is it going to allow students to engage in a project that does focus in on deeper learning? Absolutely. And so you need all these components, the knowledge of technology, knowledge of content, and the knowledge of instruction to really deliver that rigorous student learning. Think of knowledge of technology as technology being that vehicle for delivering the content and also the instruction. And so that's what's embedded within our professional learning. Of course, in that is to integrate all the supports that are in place for students with disabilities, but also for our emergent multilingual learners. And so with that, what exactly does that entail? That entails the training for teachers prior to the start of school to make connections with students in distance learning environment. Professional learning days, we will collaborate to norm. We will figure out our collaborative learning times prior to the start of school year. We figured that out already, but just engage in the research that's out there, the data that's out there, and also the guidance that's out there to support the implementation of distance learning plan. I said it earlier, but who would have thought that when I got my master's in curriculum and instruction with an emphasis in educational technology, I actually came across an old paper that I wrote on a distance learning plan. And here we are, totally different than what I wrote, but that's because we are lifelong learners. Things change and we get better. There will be ongoing opportunities for staff to engage in professional learning, and that is tailored to their individual needs and interests. And so that's the key there, their individual needs and interests, because that's what creates that agency. And so we want to practice the individual needs and interests because we also want to provide that experience for our students. We want to give them that voice, we want to give them that choice, but we want them to become agents of their learning. And to do that, we have to figure out ways to tailor that instruction, to tailor the content and deliver it through the best technological means. Next is family engagement, and we develop and leverage strong partnerships with parents to ensure equitable learning outcomes. One thing that we want to emphasize with family engagement is that we have a full-on PTA. Almost every position is full already. Our PTA president is Ms. Tina Bronza, and I put her email up there, and we'll also include that in our website. But that is one way to stay engaged. We will have opportunities through our PTA, which we call association meetings, that create experiences for families that focus on how to support students at home, but also how to support them at school and in a distance learning environment. And so we will be meeting, I will be meeting with the PTA board tomorrow. It's our first meeting at 5:30. And on that, we are going to decide what meetings we'll do throughout the year and what our first association meeting is going to focus on. We also have school site council, and school site council It's if you like dealing with money or you like budgets and you want to see how budgets are created at schools and how they're used, that is the driving council that really looks at our single plan for student achievement. And we evaluate our plan. We look at our goals. We look at our activities, and then we look to see how we measure them and is there success. And so with School Site Council, we do look at how we're using our money with the local control and accountability plan, how we're using our money with Title I plan. And we also look at our school safety plan as well. So all those go through School Site Council. Our Staff Special Education Parent Advisory Council, that is, we call it our CPAC. That is a council that we have. There's some that take place throughout the district, but there's also some that take place at school where we give more targeted informational sessions about students with disabilities and what that means. We had a question earlier about what is an IEP, the Individual Education Plan. We go over that in terms of how it works and what is the process that is involved with students with disabilities. Our English Learner Advisory Council, that is for our emergent multilingual learners. And so they are the council that really inform us in terms of how we can address some gaps and some needs of families, both for our students, but also for our parents. For example, our youth and family coordinator, that is a position that originally began with a need and just parents advocating for that need within the English Learner Advisory Council. And so it is a position that we finally made into reality, and we're really excited about that. We're also really excited about centralizing all information within the NEA homepage. I will show you shortly where you will find these links within our distance learning page. Parent resources, we will engage in webinars and other forms of site-based outreach we will utilize to support families in distant learning. And so, for example, when we talk about regatta, for example, Mr. Sportel will talk a little bit more about that. But for now, we are going into a virtual regatta, but for the week of August 10th, we will be providing support for families that may not have access to technology, for families that really need to figure out how to navigate and submit information online. That's the type, and face-to-face support. So we will be providing that. More details on that will be shared out on Friday through Parent Square. All messaging information shared with parents and families will be provided in both English and Spanish. That is something that we will do with our Sunday bulletin. Every Sunday, I will be sending out a bulletin, just letting parents know what's coming up for the week, important dates that we have coming up, and also curating information that's coming to you from our district and also from our school. When our teachers send out messaging, we will be making sure that those messages are also provided in Spanish. Our school website has been updated, and so we went ahead and created a distance learning page. I'll show you that towards the end of the presentation. And we also made that accessible to you in both English and Spanish. And it could be accessible through a phone, through an iPad or a tablet, and also through computer screens. So we will be holding regular PTAs. We will be holding regular ELAC meetings. I will be bringing back Coffee with the Principal. And so I led a series of Coffee with the Principals last year. Those are more informal meetings. They'll probably take the shape of more like Zoom meetings, where we could just have an informal conversation about school climate, how are things going, where I could learn from you, but also you could learn about what we're currently doing at the school. Weekly updates will be provided, and we will be norming response time for communication with our teachers, but also with ourselves. And so be on the lookout for all that. Access to technology. We ensure that each student has a device and dependable Wi-Fi connectivity prior to the start of school. And so with that, I will have Mr. Sportel just chime in a little bit in terms of the work that he was doing in the spring, and then the work we've been doing in the summer and into the new school year. Mr. Sportel?
Yes, we got a lot of good practice last year. In terms of reaching out to families via phone, it was a surprise to everyone. And we ended up having some families that needed some support in getting online, getting their Wi-Fi connections going. We were very fortunate to have our school district's ETS department support us very well with that. And we did a lot of outreach. So we have systems in place to utilize all of our staff available to reach out to families. A lot of that is via phone, but we are also going to be available in person. And that will come into play next week, as we won't be having our traditional in-person regatta, but we'll be attempting to do the majority of the items via the virtual platforms. So what we will have in place is a schedule and a procedure that will ensure everyone's safety. We're going to be sending details out on that later this week. But for those people who do require in-person support, we will have that for people. And generally speaking, in regards to the engagement piece, we want to do as much as we can to reach out and support people in the virtual manner, but we also recognize that there may be times that in-person support is needed, and we are going to do our best to make sure that we have all those safety procedures in place.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Fortel. And I just want to emphasize that we do have site tech integrators on site who will help our staff and support them, really designing lessons that embed technology, embed the content, and also embed the instructional practices. And so with that, we'll also include NEO support for families. So we are going over a lot, and the distance learning plan is way more comprehensive than we picked out the key areas within the distance learning plan to go with you, and then really wanted to dive deep into what that would look like here at GV. We have an opportunity to create a new reality for teaching and learning, and we're doing it. There is no group that I am more proud of than our staff. We are a collaborative team. We work together, and we work to identify where are the gaps, where are the struggles, and we aim to identify those and work on them and collectively work on them. And so it's a testament to the work that we do, and it's a testament to the results that we're seeing year after year within English and math. And we want to continue focusing on those existing strengths while also addressing the growth opportunities that we see within our data, but also what we're seeing with any challenges that pop up with distance learning. I do want to talk a little bit about school schedules and what that will look like in the life of a junior high mariner. And so we've catered it so that on Monday, it becomes more of a check-in with all teachers, and they can go over to see what they have coming up again through NEO and through other additional tools and platforms that the teachers may be using to engage in that week. Moving into the schedule, on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, we are looking to for students to attend a block schedule. And so that is an extended period of time. And with those block schedules, that is where our teachers and students will be engaging in both synchronously, that is the face-to-face, but also asynchronously, where it's independent work. And you might recognize it very similar to homework, but we will be looking at our homework practices and making sure that the work that students are doing independently is work that informs the decision-making of the lesson design, and also work that allows our teachers to see what is that visible evidence of student learning that we want to identify to see if our students are making progress and mastering the standards, the skills, and any competencies that they're working on. And so that is the schedule that you see here. Our teachers will be following that. You see there that it starts at 9, for example, on Tuesday, period 1 starts at 9, it ends at 10:20. That could include a variety of different approaches. It could include direct instruction. It could include facilitative conversations. It could include independent work. It could include group work. It could include students working independently and logging off and then re-logging in afterwards. And so, but what is going to be key there is that our teachers are going to be available during these times to support our students. And so just wanted to highlight our schedule and what that looks like across all the 4 junior highs. Looking ahead, I'll just have Mr. Sportel here just chime a little bit in terms of what virtual regatta will look like and just what we have coming up.
Thank you. Many parents have already engaged in doing the registration process online. Got about half of our student population has been registered, and many of you have already submitted the supporting documentation, and that can be done through that same Aries platform. If you haven't done that yet, I encourage you to go to our website under Parents, and you can access the Aries portal there. Again, if you need support, we have people ready to assist you. Initially, if you have some concerns right now, you can reach out to Mrs. Spencer, our registrar. And next week for Regatta, we will be sending out detailed information about a schedule that you can access support with that. The other items included will be in the welcome packet that you'll see also linked to our website. And that is where you can purchase yearbooks and PE clothes. We recognize that some people may have some difficulty fitting the PE clothes, and we will be putting out information to support you with that.
Great, thank you, Mrs. Sportel. The links that you see here with the district-wide resources, I'll go ahead and let you know where you could find these links, so that way you can understand how the technology distribution and support will work. Our current 8th graders were allowed to keep their iPads, and so if there are 8th graders heading into 9th grade, they held on to their iPads, and if there were 7th graders coming into 8th grade, they held on to their iPads. And so if something happened over the summer, an accident, or the iPad stopped working, I'll go ahead and show you our distance learning page where you can access tech support for that. For all of our incoming 7th grade families, the iPads will be distributed through our district office through ETS. And so they will be providing the details to that and sending information out via Parent Square on that. And it's already contained within our distance learning plan. The grab and go meals will continue. The learning at home resources will still be there, and also the resources that we have with health and wellness, and also resources around anti-racism resources for our families. So this last slide is letting you know where you could find the distance learning page. And so let me click on that real quick, and it will take us to the distance learning page. And so again, you can access this through any device that has access to the internet. What you will see here is the distance learning plan. So by clicking on the red link, it will take you to our distance learning plan. Kind of a more detailed information about the various different components. You could see more in detail here of what is that instructional shift that we are referencing when it comes to technology, content, and instructional practices. Scrolling down, I'm just going to go, there's the link to NEO. Scroll down a little bit and just go to the technology piece. So here's the access to technology information in terms of what that will look like. And again, information will be shared out via Parent Square. But what you do have here is other resources for students that you will also use. So NEO will be our centralized hub for information for assignments, for teachers to post the links to Zooms. And for you, for our families, you will have parent access to NEO, so you could monitor and engage with what your students are learning. Our GV schedule is located in this link. All the red areas are the links. Our Zoom for students, you could click here too, but this is where they can click on. They'll also have it on their iPad already installed. It will be pushed in. Ms. Cabrera was talking about the various different domains around academic, college and career, and social emotional. You can click here to get a more in-depth view of what that looks like. I included an organizational template here. My kids are 7 years old, and we really need an organizational template. And so I've used this and catered it for myself, but I have heard parents have success with this, especially when students make a copy of it and then they share it with the families. Just allows to kind of have a bird's eye view of what students are doing, but also allows you to support them with their educational needs. There's the Google Apps. We are going to be norming work around the Google Apps, so that way our 7th graders know how to use their Gmail, know how to use their Google Sheets, the calendars, searching on the internet. We will be embedding digital citizenship lessons that will be conducted through our teachers and also in collaboration with our librarian to really teach our students how to navigate the internet, to promote digital literacy and to promote being safe online. Learning at Home is the site that takes you to our district website where you have a variety of resources for you at the click of a button. There's the grab and go sites that you can see where you could pick up lunch for students. And here's the link also to submit a tech request if you're having any troubleshooting with the iPads. Scrolling down a little further, we do have curated list of independent reading resources. And we also have our Stop It app instructions. And so we will be messaging to our students how to use the Stop It app. We want them to feel safe at school. We want them to feel safe in a virtual environment. And so we do have this app that will be in every student's iPad in case they do need to report something or they're feeling unsafe and they want to connect with us. And so we push this really, we emphasize it a lot with our students because anytime they're feeling at ease, we just want them to communicate with us. The moment they submit a Stop It app report, it comes to Mr. Sportel, Ms. Chu, and myself. And we prioritize and we drop everything that we're doing to see how we can go ahead and support students whenever a Stop It report is submitted. We also added some parent resources. There's the resources in terms of Zoom meeting protocols and information here, a video about Zoom for families. This is really important, the staff directory. And so with that, it takes you to the link of everyone's emails, who they are, what department, but also the extension. If you call and then you dial the extension 2506, I've wired the extension and we all have an app that is connected to our phones. And so we are able to receive your phone calls, whether we're on site, off site. It just allows us to better meet your needs if you need to get a hold of us and connect with us. And so do use that for your benefit. We keep it updated. And it is a really quick way if you want to do that face-to-face and you got to get us on the phone, or if you want to send us an email. Down here are tips for parents that we've gathered, and we'll continue to add more tips. And again, this is distance learning that is in Spanish, but also in English. And I do want to emphasize that within our distance learning plan, I do want to capitalize on the registration process and how that works. And so if you completed the registration process and you were not able to do the welcome back packet, we have a virtual packet online that you will be able to complete. And so let me show you where that is found right now. Under Parents, goes to Regatta. And then this is the link for the Goleta Valley Junior High Welcome Packet Part 1 and Part 2. And so in here, this is where you will be able to become a member of PTA. I highly encourage you to become a member of PTA. Our PTA just has really shined last year and created a robust way of supporting our teachers and our students and our school as a whole. They really dedicated their energy into developing our makerspace. And this year, we will be having conversations about how can we support our students through a distance learning environment and use funds that are donated by our families to see how we can support our school and students. And so By clicking on that welcome packet, it will take you to both a Spanish and an English. You'll select one, you'll select the grade. You'll complete information about your student. You do not need a student ID. We will need your email, and then you'll hit next, and it'll take you to the motions of completing the welcome packet. We are really fortunate that we have been working with the welcome packet now for going on year 3. And so it's just lending itself to transition very well into a virtual regatta where we will still be able to work with you, and you will still be able to let us know what you'll need to purchase so that later we can engage in distribution practices, making sure that we're following the safety guidelines laid out by the county. And so that's a little note about our website. There we go. And so with that, that really concludes our webinar. We still have a little time. It's almost perfect timing. We're ending it at 7:30, but let me go ahead and stop the sharing of my screen and see if there's any. We've had quite a number of questions that we were able to answer, and so that's good. Can parents log in and view regatta if parent is at work? Yeah, so virtual regatta, really, it's going to be at your own pace. And so whenever you're able to. Many of you have started that process already, so you can go ahead and begin the registration process now by clicking on one of the Parent Square links. In terms of registration, will take you directly to registration. You will complete all the forms. You will even be able to submit your address verification. And you will also be able to submit birth certificates and immunizations. And Ms. Spencer's here. Ms. Spencer, would you like to say a few words about that process and how you're working with families when they submit?
Yes, absolutely. So for registration, if you need the link, you can absolutely call me. Sorry, I was answering another question. It always happens. But you can reach me via email, which is spencer@sbunified.org, or you can reach me on my school extension, and the telephone number is area code 805-967-3486, extension 2502. If you are getting a message in the system that says you need a verification code, you can contact me and I will be providing you with access. What I need from you is an email address, and that will create an account for you to complete your registration. Anything else that you may be having issues with Aries, please contact me. It is our busy season right now. Please be patient with me, but I will get to every one of you. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Spencer. And I do want to emphasize that the week of August 10th and the 11th and the 12th, we will be creating face-to-face slots for families to come in that really need to come in and need support completing the registration process or need support with technology in general. I know that if I had to support my mom and even my grandmother, I would need to show them how to use the mouse pad. I would need to show them how to navigate simple things that sometimes come natural even to our young ones. We do understand that we want to be able to support them. And so we will have those opportunities to support you. We will even help create emails. Sometimes families need help creating an email account. So that way we can create that account and put it in Aries. And we'll create those opportunities in face-to-face, mainly with families that need it. And for the majority of our families, we'll be able to do everything online. And so do reach out to us and let us know how we can support you. And so we're here for you. We will have opportunities later on to engage in NEO and how to monitor NEO and how to support students with NEO. And aside from that, we're here. And so thank you again for being part of our webinar. And if we did not get to your question, we will go through the questions and get back to you via email. So 7:33, we're about 3 minutes past our time. but we will go ahead and sign off. And I will say that Ms. Spencer will be sending out personalized emails through Parent Square for any family that still needs to complete the registration. So you'll have that link through your email coming to you shortly. Okay.
Yes, and Mr. Ortega, I just want to say that I am also making personal phone calls, or as you're calling me, I'm checking all of your paperwork. If it's a random question, I am checking for your registration and another missing document, so you can do that as well.
Great. Thank you. So with that, thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful evening, and we'll be in touch soon.